welcome to this week's episode of The Money Drill, the show that's dedicated to helping you drill down to the reliable retirement solutions for you. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm joined by Eric Morgan. He is the president of Retirement Financial Group here in Southeast Texas. Eric, my friend, I am excited to be with you. We have almost 20 episodes already.
I cannot believe
it?
I'll never forget the first episode. I think my palms were sweating. I mean, I probably stuttered all the way through it. Probably not much better now, but it is getting more and more comfortable. I so enjoy doing this show with you.
Oh, I love doing it. It's one of my favorite times every week. And I know that it's you that the viewers get to see on television, but you have a whole team of folks that are behind this. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, our team is so good. I mean, we have, 𝗬𝗫𝗫 has been with us since the beginning. She knows every client. She is so personal. Clients love 𝗬𝗫𝗫, And then Kim, she's been with the Beaumont office since the beginning as well. She's so kind and genuine. And without those ladies, they're the first people you're going to see whenever you walk into either office. And without those ladies giving clients a warm welcome and like, we're happy to see you, I don't think we would be where we are today. There's no doubt that we are so dependent on their how they respond to people, and they kind of set the tone, if you will. And so we're so thankful for them. And then, of course, the back office from Kate to Emily, they do an awesome job ensuring Clark and I are prepared. Everything is running smoothly, ensuring our summaries are up to date, ensuring that we're on task. And so, again, there is no way we could do it without this team. Clark and I are the advisors. You see me on the TV show. But outside, we would not be who we are without them, and I cannot thank them enough.
Absolutely. So thank you all. We love you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I know one of the things that also sets you guys apart is it's such a family affair. You walk into the offices, you're going to see pictures of people's kids and families, and I always love your kid stories. And Eric shared a story with me about his daughter, 𝗬𝗫𝗫, about what happened years ago, which ties in today's show. So I want you to share that story real quick.
Yeah, I was a new dad. She was just shy of 2 years old, and my wife had been saying that she wanted to get her hair cut. So it was Christmas time, and my wife was cooking, getting ready to go to Christmas at my brother's. And it was out of town, and so she's getting all that ready. I'm on bath duty, so I give her a bath, and I look at her hair. I'm like, well, I could cut her hair.
Oh, gosh.
So get her out of the bath, I dry her off, and her hair's still wet. And so I start taking the scissors. I start just, I've seen it done 1,000 times at the barber where they just kind of cut across.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And I started doing that, and it's like, well, that's not even. So I slowly start cutting, and I'm like, this is not going well. And so I stopped. And I did not tell my wife about it, okay? So we load up in the car, we're driving, and my wife's actually driving at the time, and she just happens to glance back in the rearview mirror, and 𝗬𝗫𝗫's hairline, I think they're called bangs, right? It's like slanted.
I think they're called bangs. It tells you right there this man has no business cutting hair.
I should not be cutting hair. So it's like, cutting at like a 45-degree angle. And she goes, 𝗬𝗫𝗫𝗫, what did you do?
Oh, no.
And I just sit there.
Eric Morgan.
And then I'm like, I cannot let her fall for this. I was like, actually, and so I told my wife the story. I thought, my wife is very patient.
Yes, she is.
She does not get angry or upset often. I did not so much like her response, although it was completely warranted. But I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was in her. But I will never cut her hair again.
Well,
ever.
And cutting it wet, you said later that
it was wet. Like I didn't know it shrunk or whatever they call it. So dads at home, do not cut your daughter's hair or your granddaughter's hair. Don't do it. Like, it's just a bad idea.
Just don't.
Just don't do it.
You'll unleash a wrath that you have never known.
Yes, it is not a good feeling.
But we were joking about one of the, not only, I'm sorry, he didn't know what he was doing, right? And you tried to do it. But then you had the unknown variable of wet hair, and you didn't know how that was going to affect the whole process.
I had no idea.
Right?
Yep.
And so we were talking, because today's show, we are going to talk more about the unknown variables of retirement planning. We actually did a show a couple weeks ago on this subject. There was so much that we didn't have time to get into, and we had such a great response that we thought we would tackle it and talk about some of the stuff we didn't have a chance to last time.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right, perfect. So first up, we had touched on this on that episode, but it really is important to re-presence, setting unrealistic investment expectations. And I would love for you to unpack that and go more deeply this time into that subject.
Absolutely. I think that we think about retirement kind of the way we think about our retirement investments, kind of the way we've always thought about investing. I think the brokerage world has done a really good job of making it so convoluted and kind of setting these numbers around everything that really don't make sense for everyone, right? So much they've came up with these target date funds that kind of your risk gets different as you age, right? Let's go closer to that date. It's really that bond equity balance. And so one thing that you have to make sure, you know, for so long they've been indoctrinated with this idea of just 60-40 or 50-50, you know, equity to bond, you know, but Ray Dalio, who recently retired, but he, at the time of his retirement, managed either the world's largest or one of the world's largest hedge funds. And he said that equities are 3 times more volatile than bonds. Okay, so we'll take last year's scenario, 2022.
Yep.
Equity goes down 18%. Bonds actually last year had a very close correlation. They were down about 13, 14, depending on what duration of bond you had, but they were down. Equities have rebounded significantly. We'll look at Amazon. Amazon from $84 up to, I think today, closed around $131, right? In a 6-month period. Tesla from $111 to $275, $295, that range. Point being, a lot more volatility, right? And so a lot of their gains have come back, depending on when you bought them, but the bonds have not recovered as quickly. Now, do we think they're going to recover over time? We do, but not as fast, not with that amount of, I would say, horsepower behind them, right? And it's very dependent on the Feds. And so I think that the thing is that people during that long run of bull market, they got so used to kind of putting it in these target date funds that everything was great, right? Or they got so used to seeing these 10, 15, 20% returns and no down years.
Right, we get lulled to sleep and thinking, oh, this is how it's always going to be, right?
That's correct. Like it's like you get so used to that comfort of it goes up and up and up and up, but what goes up must come down. So that old saying. And so we felt that last year, 2022. Depending on what you're in, you still might be feeling it today. And so I think ensuring that you understand how those things play into your portfolio and knowing that there are more things out there than just bonds and equities. You know, we've really, what we do as a firm is being fiduciary, we look at multiple avenues for investment allocation. You know, we have equities, we have some bonds now, but we're getting into this, you know, CDs. CDs are a really good allocation as well for the income, but more specifically, these things called structured notes. Structured notes, we've really kind of taken a hold of these this year because it made sense this year, right? Structured notes are something that utilizes option strategies on the market. Okay, I'm not riding the option. I'm not an option trader, you know, but JP Morgan is, or Barclays, or some of the big banks. That's what they do. And so you utilize these structured notes, and the income it produces, is significant, and it limits downside. I mean, I'm not going to say there's no risk, but it limits your risk. And so you get a much better income. You're still participating in the market, because if we just sit in cash, which is I'm prone to do that. I'm more conservative. So if you just sit in cash, you have that reinvestment risk. But now there's all these tools out there that some advisors are using, but not all advisors. A lot of these, I had one advisor say one time, well, I just like using, you know, what the pension funds use, the bonds and equities. The Crane Operator Union of New York City uses structured notes. Ray Dalio's hedge fund uses structured notes. So, I mean, these big players use these tools.
Success leaves clues, right?
Correct, exactly. And they weren't always available. I mean, and I would say in normal retail, so if you're an individual person, you cannot go buy a note on your own. You have to go through an advisor, okay? Now, you can write your own option strategy if you're smart enough to do that. You know, however, options can leave you hanging, right? If you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, for sure.
So,
it's like cutting your daughter's hair.
It's like
when
cutting
you don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely, and you do not want the wrath of mama on you, or the wrath of your spouse whenever you don't know what you're doing. And so, you know, having the right people in place that say it's not just about bonds, it's not just about equities. There's these other things out there that really truly give us diversification, and then also it helps us tailor that expectation. Right. That's what we got to do. We got to tailor the expectation that just because you've done really good for 13 years in a bull market does not make you an expert.
Absolutely.
Let us handle that. Let the guys on Wall Street handle that, right? Let us help you do those things for you, right? So if you're out there and you're wondering, how am I allocated? Do I just know about bonds and equities, maybe some CDs? Is there something else out there that could benefit me and benefit my family in the long term? Come and see us. Let us sit down with you. It's free for a second opinion, right? Even though if you're with an advisor, our consultation is free. Let us take a look at it. Let us take a deep dive on your statements. Let us look at your tax strategy. Let us look at your healthcare strategy, which we're going to talk about later. And let us see how we can help you come up with a more comprehensive financial plan. Call us today and come in and see us.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team will reach out to you to schedule your complimentary appointment and visit and review that way as well. We have more to discuss when it comes to unknown variables that affect your retirement planning right after this.
I'm an engineer by degree, and so I was working for ExxonMobil coming out of college, and then went to Motiva or Shell after ExxonMobil. I spent a few years there, and I ended up working just a ton of hours. Loved my job, loved the people. I love what I did, but two things were kind of the catalyst that kind of pushed me on. One was, I had 2 kids at the time, and I would go to work at 5 a.m. I would get home 5 to 6 p.m. They were young, so they were going to bed early, and so there was very limited time I would get to see them in the evenings. And 2 days a week, due to our church activities, I didn't get to spend any quality time with them at all. That, coupled with my mom passing away at a young age of 52, just weeks after my dad retired, those two things coupled together, the lack of time with my own children that I was seeing as a progression, and then my mom passing away, said, it's time for a change. I don't want to do this anymore. Honestly, early on, I thought I was crazy. I was like, why did I leave that great job to start all over again? And I just realized that I didn't want to spend my whole life working behind the refinery gates. I'd rather take the skills the Lord had given me to go help people like my mom and dad maybe retire sooner so they could spend more time together.
Welcome back, Southeast Texas. You're watching The Money Drill. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, here with Eric Morgan, president of Retirement Financial Group. And we open the show with a hilarious story about Eric cutting his daughter's hair, and that did not go well. But I just want to say you were a great dad.
Oh,
so even though I'm
much.
razzing you about that, just know that that's pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you. I have 3 great kids, and I love them dearly.
I know you do. Yeah,
no
for
doubt.
sure. Well, we got to get back to more unknown variables with retirement planning. And I know a big one that we are going to talk about next is healthcare planning. And it's not always the most fun thing to talk about, but it's necessary. So let's go there. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, healthcare in our thought is, in our opinion, is by far one of the most expensive things we see. Whenever we talk about clients come in or prospects come in, we talk about budget. The biggest line item seems to be healthcare cost, right? And so the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with a graph recently through May of 2023. They kind of showed this trend between the year 2000 through then, kind of showing the rising cost, okay, from things from TVs to college to cars.
Yep.
Do you want to take a guess what topped the chart?
I bet it's healthcare.
Healthcare, right? So in those 23-year span, 22 and a half, healthcare has went up 225%.
Oh my gosh, 225%. Just let's
say that one more time. 225%. That is a lot.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about inflation all the time, right? Being an average of that 3 to 4 range. Of course, last year and the year before that, not so much, but we're trending back down. But the average being there, except for healthcare. I mean, and that's the thing that people are worried about the most.
Right.
Will I outlive my money? Do I have enough money for healthcare? It's a massive problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and really, I think what has spoiled people so much is their companies, for example, burden the cost of what the healthcare truly costs them, right? So you might only be paying $1,000 a month or $800 a month in premium. However, your company is shouldering the rest of that cost.
Right.
Right. Yep. And then you retire, and depending on your plan and what that looks like, they might burden or shoulder less of that cost, or none of that cost.
Right.
Right. And so that just seems to be such a big ticket item that, Clark and I said, we have to find a way to help people. Right.
Yep.
And so we had to come up with some different solutions. And we knew we weren't going to be we could not carry that torch alone.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so what you all did, which I think is brilliant, if you don't know, they have a secret weapon in their office. We call him the Maverick of Medicare.
Oh, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because we got to have Hank on our show not too long ago.
Oh, he loves it whenever we call him the Maverick. Hank, if you look at Hank, he is like Hollywood. Like, I mean, he should be on every
looks like a Tom
billboard
Cruise.
that we do. He should be on every TV show. His family's beautiful, you know. But Hank, you know, what I love about Hank is whenever he was an insurance agent, owned his own agency for several years. And I remember going to him for insurance on property casualty stuff, and he ran a price. And I said, okay. I said, well, I want to use, I'll take it, you know.
Right.
I think it was a business policy. He says, well, have you got other quotes? I said, yes. He said, let me review those. So I gave those to him, and he was higher than everybody else. And he looks at it. He says, there's no way that my policy is going to beat those other policies. In terms of coverage, yeah, I'm higher and my coverage is not as good. I cannot allow you to spend that money with me.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And so from the very beginning, from the very onset of me meeting Hank, I said, at some point, I want to do something with that guy. You know? And
Talk about doing what's in the client's best interest, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not about the money, right?
Right.
And so he went out, whenever him and I started talking about this, and we brought him on board. He kind of runs that division, right? Healthcare, Medicare, because there's no way Clark and I can be a good fiduciary advisor and know all things we need to know about asset planning and tax planning and all those things.
Yep.
And know all the things as it relates to healthcare and Medicare. So we said we have to outsource that.
Right.
So we brought him in. He's done a great job. And let me just say a little bit more about the type of guy Hank is. I mean, before he does any plan, you come into the office, Kristin, if you said, I need a new plan, whether it's a healthcare plan or a Medicare plan, he's going to get a list of your medications if you have them, and then a list of your doctors. He's going to call them. Because the doctors don't always update their websites frequently enough to say what plans they're taking or accepting. Neither does the carrier. And so he's going to call them. He's going to ensure that the plan that he's recommending is accepted by your, now the doctor could always change later, but is accepted at that moment by your doctor, right? Because he's like, we don't want to go backwards. If you like it, everything's about relationships. Your financial advisor, that's about a relationship. Your doctor is a relationship.
Yes.
You trust them, or you should at least. Your barber, you should trust them, right? So you should trust people. And so he's like, I want to ensure that we're giving them the great product at a cheaper price. Now, can we do that for everybody? Not necessarily, but there are so many things out there. And if people, you know, talking about earlier, we talked about legislative risk and different political affiliations, and you know, they hear the term Obamacare, and that could be a good word or a bad word depending on who you talk to. But there are a lot of good things inside that system that you can utilize if you know what you're looking for. And if you have an advocate to do that for you.
Yeah, and it's based on what you need.
That's right.
And I know you had a gentleman that came in because he watched that specific show that we did all on Medicare, and he enrolled in a policy as a result.
Absolutely, yes. He came in. He's turning 65. He saw Hank and I on the show, and I mean, Hank sat down with him and same deal. He's all the stuff, your medication, your doctors, took the time. And then even for our clients that we already had, we started this in mind, having them in mind and saying, you know, we're tired of them paying $1,800 in premium a month. There has to be other options. Now, this is pre-Medicare, obviously. And so Hank went out there and he'd found equivalent plans with equivalent deductibles for a fraction of the cost. Like $900 versus like half the cost. Talk about changing a financial plan. I mean, that is a significant savings that really affects your drawdown. That affects so much, and so Hank's done a great job for that.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate him.
Wow. Well, it's so important to plan for that unknown variable of healthcare costs, and I'm glad that we got to spend some time talking about it today because it's a huge one.
Oh, it is. I think people don't, I mean, I think they know it. But they haven't heard that number, right? If you didn't hear us again, healthcare has risen 225%. Let that sink in as you think about your retirement planning, right? Is that a factor in your retirement plan? Because if it's not, it should be. And so if you're sitting there thinking, what do I do for healthcare? You know, I'm retiring next year, or I want to retire, but I don't know what to do, or I'm scared. Well, this is a scary time.
It is.
You've never retired. You worked for 40 years of your life. You've never been down this road. Come sit down with me. Come sit down with Hank. Let us sit down with you, walk you through this plan together, right? We'll look at your assets, we'll look at your allocations, look at your tax strategy, we'll look at your health. All of that needs to be integrated into one. Estate planning, we have the attorney right there in our office as well. We will sit down, we will ensure that your plan is robust and reliable so that you can dream again, right? Yes. We don't want you to be bogged down with all of the worries that life brings. Let us do that for you. That's what you pay us for. So come in for a free consultation. Let us sit down with you, walk you through those things, and see if we're a good fit.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much.
You
to
bet.
our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but we encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to come in and get a complimentary written financial plan. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's just simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how Eric and the team at Retirement Financial Group can help and serve you. That number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591. More on the Money Drill right after this.
My philosophy to financial planning is a holistic approach. I don't believe that you can execute a proper or develop a proper financial plan by only looking at asset allocation. So, people are so honed into this idea of just being bonds to equity ratios. A true financial plan looks at what are your wants, first of all. What do you want out of your money? What do you expect your money to do? Number two, diversification is very important. Asset allocation is very important. What risk are you willing to take? And number three, what does tax planning look like? What do you want to give to your kids, or what do you want to give to your church? How do you give back? Having a financial plan is important because, during, for example, the 2022 scenario, or we'll go back to COVID as well, when markets drop without a plan, emotions can drive decisions. And plans allow you to have some measure of where you're driving the boat to. And so I think it's really important to have that plan, to stick to the plan, to ensure that that plan meets your character, meets your desires and wants, and who you are. That way, during those times of turmoil, that you're able to stick to the plan and be engaged.
Well, welcome back to the Money Drill. Today we are drilling down on some more of the unknown variables that affect your retirement planning. I know we only have a few minutes left in the show, Eric. This time goes by so quickly. But let's talk briefly about Social Security benefits and the unknown variable associated with them. Yeah,
the unknown variable is the government, right? And I mean, you don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
And so, you think about, if there's a recent study that came out last year that said that the benefit should run out around 2035, right? And so there's a massive shortfall. And so what's going to happen to that? So I have people ask me all the time, when do I take it? Do I 62, 65, 70? Our school of thought has always been, and it changes per person, right? But take it while you can get it.
Right.
You don't know how long you can get it. Now, however, I do believe we'll always have Social Security from the perspective of lawmakers are in the business of re-election.
I know. I was thinking, no administration wants to be known as the one that kills it, Social Security, right?
So they want to get re-elected. And so it would not surprise me if we did not see, remember, we always said laws change. They're evergreen.
Yes.
It would not surprise me if we did not see in the upcoming years. Right now, up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed. What about 100%? Well, they changed that. So now they're getting some more money back from that.
Right.
Right now, the cap, if you will, you'll kind of stop paying into Social Security with your wages after about $160,000.
Right.
Well, what if someone makes $500,000, or what if they make $1 million? There's a lot of room there that can continue going into the Social Security fund if they change those plans, or those laws. And so I really believe that there's going to be changes coming that are going to affect Social Security to kind of get that fund back up. But specifically, they might not, right? It might not ever be fully funded again. So we cannot rely solely or fully on Social Security to be there.
Right.
For each individual person.
Yeah, absolutely. So important to take that variable into consideration.
That's right. And it's so convoluted. I mean, you can be married, I'm going to be married, and I could have been separated from another wife, and she can claim on it, Kaylee, my wife can claim on it. It's just like all these people can claim on the same benefit, And that's why it's draining the fund.
Yeah, there's a lot of loopholes in there.
There really is.
So, for sure. Well, moving on, we got to talk about taxes as well.
Oh, yeah.
I know that is one of the biggest unknown variables, but I also know that's what you're really passionate about, is helping folks engage in that strategic tax planning. So what do you want to hit on here?
You know, kind of the real big thing is, right, you know, with the amount of money that's been printed over the last 2 years, 35% increase in the M2 money circulation, if you will, which is the money supply that's been into circulation within the U.S. That's what caused inflation to run rampant. But also that money supply was also to provide, you know, government programs, you know, like that, you know, the COVID relief or the student loan forgiveness, right? All these things. Again, I think I said this show or another show, money is not free anywhere. Like, it might seem like it's forgiven. You might get a benefit from it, but somebody is paying for that somewhere, and it's going to be in the form of taxes. They're going to raise taxes to offset those expenses.
Right.
There's no other way around it. Right. Debt's at an all-time high, and so what do you need to do? Right now, we have this opportunity. I call it the taxes are on sale to do these Roth conversions, and I really think you need to be strategic in your thinking around: should I do a Roth conversion? What does that look like? Am I eligible for a Roth conversion? Should I put more money into a Roth? All these things come into play from a tax plan perspective. You know, that's why it's so important to, like, sit down with a financial advisor, sit down with a CPA, and make sure those two individuals are working together for you.
Yes.
You know,
the plan is cohesive.
The plan is cohesive.
Taking all these different pieces into consideration.
I have a client that has, he owns a business in town, and electrical business, and he's very much, and he's one of the few people that do this, but he says, I want my advisor to talk to my attorney, talk to my accountant. And all three of us talk once or twice a year to ensure, because there's a lot of moving pieces with the business.
Right.
Well, he's self-employed for his whole career. As you become retired, you're becoming self-employed.
Yes, you are.
So you
no matter what profession you used to be in, now you're your own boss, right?
Correct. Like, your money's got to work for you. It has to go do something. And so when the markets go down and taxes go up, how is that going to affect you? Right? So if you're sitting there on your couch or in your chair thinking, what does this mean for me? Are Roth conversions the right thing to do? Am I relying too much on my Social Security? So many of these unknown variables are out there. Let us help you. Let us sit down with you. It's free to come in for a meeting, right? We have a 2-meeting process. Meeting 1 is to get to know you. Meeting 2 is a proposal. We'll sit down. We'll give you our thoughts. We'll give you our insights. And I am not afraid to say, hey, what you currently have is a great plan.
Yeah,
right?
Keep doing what you're doing, just like Hank did for you.
That's right. It does not behoove me to do something that I shouldn't be doing, right? I want to be in your best interest as a fiduciary advisor. So if that's you, come in and see us.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much. Always a joy to be with you. Thank you so much for watching. We love you, Southeast Texas. We will see you next week.